Hello everyone. Today we are going to study about the lesson social groups in typologies. In this lesson we'll get to know different topics: introduction, definition of social group, individual and the group, integration and functions of groups, types of groups. Objective of this lesson is by the end of this unit you will able to understand, define social group, explain characteristics and importance of social groups. Introduction. In this unit we'll discuss on the concept of group and look at the ways people interact in groups. Later, a classification of various groups in which we take part in society and how they function to serve human needs is also discussed. Man is not a social isolation individual. People live rarely in isolation for a long time. We live in human society from birth to death. Individuals live in groups in constant association and interaction with one another. Living in a group makes us the special makes us the social beings and at the same time maintains society in a orderly manner. If a person is physically isolated from others and this separation from human contact lasts for a long period, the individual becomes dehumanized. Every individual lives within groups to achieve special purposes. Social life becomes organized where there are established ways of interacting as well as the network of social relationships, leading to such concepts as role, relation, and structure. Thus, social groups emerge from such interactions, giving rise to both small and large, that is, from the smallest and simplest friendship groups to the largest and most complex society. A group or a society differs in its structural form. The association of an indifferentiable people forms groups and society. I repeat, the association of an identifiable people forms groups and societies. They build and develop social relations which become increasingly patterned and regularly having a particular social structure. Traditions, customs, standards of behavior, and values are found within the social groups. They are the products of human interaction within groups and they organize the pattern of life. Sociologically speaking, groups are organized in such a way that the values, customs, and standards of behavior are reflected in the behavior of the individual. Let's discuss some of the definitions of social group. To start with, let's discuss Harry M. Johnson says that a social group is a system of social interactions. Interaction is very important here again. Some of the sociologists define a group as a collection of people interacting together in an orderly way on the basis of shared expectations about each other's behavior. It has been defined as a number of persons linked together in a network of social relationship. As a result of this interaction, the members of group develop a sense of belonging. You should understand that interaction is very important in social group. And then comes Marshall Jones' definitions. In his opinion, he says that social group is two or more people between whom there is an established pattern of interaction. Again, Marshall is also discussing about interaction. Now, according to Ogborn and Nimkov, whenever two or more individuals come together and influence one another, they may be said to constitute a social group. Imori S. Borgadas, is an author, defines social group as a number of persons, two or more, who have common objects of attention, who are stimulating to each other, who have common loyalty, and participate in similar activities. According to Green, a group is an aggregate of individuals which persist in time, which has one or more interests, and activities in common and which is organized. According to McIver and Page, any collection of human beings who are brought into social relationship with one another. Social relationship involves some degree of reciprocity and mutual awareness among the members of the group. Let's discuss characteristics of social groups. The main characteristics of groups are as follows: collection of individuals, interaction among members, mutual awareness, we feeling, grow, group unity and solidarity, common interest, common interest, similar behavior, group norms, size of the group. Groups are dynamic. So these are dynamic groups, stability, influence on personality. Let's discuss characteristics in detail. Let's start with collection of individuals. Social group consists of people. Without individuals, there cannot be any group. Just as we cannot have a college or university without students and teachers, we cannot have a group in the absence of people. Interaction among members is one more important characteristic. Social interaction is the very basis of group life. Hence, mere collection of individuals does not make a group. The members are must have interaction. A social group is in fact a system of social interaction. The limits of social groups are marked by the limits of social interaction. Next characteristic, mutual awareness. Group life involves mutual awareness. Group members are aware of one another and their behavior is determined by this mutual recognition. This may be due to what Giddings called the consciousness of kind. We feeling. We feeling refers to the tendency on the part of the members to identify themselves with the group. It represents group unity. We feeling creates sympathy in and fosters cooperation among members. It helps group members to defend their interests collectively. Group unity and solidarity. Group members are tied by sense of unity. The solidarity or integration of group is largely dependent upon the frequency, the variety, and the emotional quality of the interactions of its members. A family or friends group or a religious group is highly united and integrated because its members are related by several common interests and have frequent social contacts with one another and express a high degree of morale and of loyalty. Unity is maintained more often by conscious effort. Common interest. The interests or ideals of group are common. Groups are mostly formed or established for the fulfillment of certain interests. In fact, men not only join groups but also form groups for a realization of their objectives or interest. Form of the group differs depending upon the common interest of the group. Hence, there are political groups, religion group, economic groups, educational groups, racial groups, national groups, and so on. Similarly, there is a similar behavior characteristic. The members of the group behave in more or less similar way for the pursuit of common interest. Social groups represent collective behavior. Then comes group norms. Every group has its own rules or norms which the members are supposed to follow. These norms may be in the form of customs, folkways, mores, traditions, conventions, laws, etc. They may be written or unwritten norms or standards. Every group has its own ways and means of pushing or correcting those who go against the rules. The continued group life of man practically becomes impossible without some norms. This is how we maintain a group together following norms. Size of the group. Basically, a group is called as two or more people. So, every group involves an idea of size. Social groups vary in size. A group may be as small that has two members, example husband and wife family, or as big as that of political party having lakhs of members. Size will have its own impact on the character of the group. Groups are dynamic. As I was mentioning already, in every group has dynamics within it. Social groups are not static but dynamic. They are subject to changes, whether slow or rapid. Old members die and new members are born. Whether due to internal or external pressures or forces, groups undergo changes. Stability. Groups are stable or unstable, permanent or temporary in character. Some groups like the crowd, mob, audience, spectator, groups etc. are temporary and unstable, but many groups are relatively permanent and stable in character. Influence on personality. Social groups, directly or indirectly, shape the personality of their members. They also provide opportunity for the expression of the individuality. Individual will have his own single goal, whereas group will have the one goal. Through this interaction with other people and interaction among themselves, intra and intercommunication have a lot of influence of the development of personality in the group. Now let's understand importance of social groups. The study of human society is essentially the study of human group. Society consists of groups of innumerable kinds and variety. No man exists without a society, and no society exists without groups. Groups have become part and parcel of our life. Out of necessity and inevitability, human beings are made to live in groups, knowingly or unknowingly or unwillingly, with pleasure or contempt. People live in groups and societies. Man's life is to an enormous extent lived and controlled by groups of different kinds. One more important point of social groups. Survival becomes problematic without groups. Groups have become so necessary that our survival becomes problematic and doubtful in their absence. Groups have become so necessary that our survival becomes problematic and doubtful in their absence. Groups are contemporary Groups are complementary to the development of human faculties, traits, and human nature. Man by birth itself has the biological potentiality of becoming man, the social being, so called we call it social being, or we call it social animal too. Man becomes man only among men. Same with the person. Man becomes man only among men. Various studies have convincingly proved that man fails to develop human qualities in the absence of human environment. There are a lot of cases which explain that without human interaction, without group, without human environment, a person cannot be a person, because there are a lot of other cases which we are going to discuss now. A youth who was bereft of human contacts because of political mechanization, the most interesting feral case of the two Hindu female children, Kamala and her sister, found in a wolf's den, and the pitiable case of Anna, an illegitimate American child which was kept away from human contacts for more than 5 years, and several other instances have proved that beyond doubts that only a human being environment makes a man, a biological animal, a human being. The biological potentiality of a man to become a person does not happen on its own automatically. Even in the absence of a human environment, the biological potential blossoms only in social situation. To be more precise, in the context of groups, added to this, the prolonged human infancy and the helplessness of newborn baby have almost made it a prisoner of the most elementary social group, that is a family. In family, we can see the child is always dependent on the parents and they'll be confined to the family only till they grow up and make friends in the school. Groups help social survival also, not only from the point of view of survival, but also from the viewpoint of leading a successful life, has man depended on groups. By engaging himself in constant relations with others, he learns things, amends his ways. He keeps his eyes wide open lends his ears to what others say, tries to keep his memory ever fresh, to remember the good things of the past and to refrain from repeating the blunders of the past. In present or in brief, from birth to death, man is engaged in the process of socialization. Socialization or the process of humanization helps man to develop a personality of his own. We'll discuss one more important point on about social group. Groups contribute to the development of personality. Personality is a product of the group life. The self that every individual develops, though unique, is itself a product of group. No, self arises in isolation. Groups provide scope for the individuals to express their real nature, their talents and abilities. Hidden potentialities can find their expression only in the context of social groups. What is latent in man becomes manifest only in groups. The groups shape man's attributes, his beliefs, his morals, and ideals. Emotional development, intellectual maturity, satisfaction of physical and social needs is unthinkable without groups. Group is a part of our mental equipment and we are part of the group. So, to check your understanding on this lesson, I'm going to use two questions where you can check your test your knowledge on it. You should define a social group. What is a social group? And second question is list out some of the basic characteristics of groups. Next, we move on to group and interaction. One of the basic interest of sociology is social interaction. The concept of a social group implies interaction between two or more individuals. Interaction is the process whereby, in order to give meaning and form to their behavior, individuals take other actions into account. Hence, human behavior is anticipatory and judgmental. When two or more individuals come into contact with one another, whether contact is through physical presence or through such communications as letter writing, each individual typically anticipates and judges the reactions of others, taking into account his own behavior. This process of anticipation and judgment gives human social behavior a distinctive character. For example, an individual invited for a meal. He does not like the food offered to him by the host, maybe his friend. He hesitates to complain loudly because his family is also present there. So instead, he politely says, thanks for hosting me for a meal he did enjoy. In this case, the individual refused to act as his impulses motivated him. He acted according to how he anticipates and judges the results of impulses motivated him. He acted according to how he anticipates and judges the results of impulsive behavior. Eventually, social interaction is the result of a unique to learn and thus to anticipate and judge. Groups and interactions are inseparable concepts. Crowds, clubs, and professionals are social groups marked by interaction. Members take one another into account in the context of their daily behavior. Through experience, they take roles. They also take members of other groups into account to give direction and meaning to their actions. Physicians interact with other physicians, they interact with patients, interact with their hospital nurses, they interact with hospital technicians, and also they interact with the attendants who they come with the patients. Individuals in a family interact with one another as brother, sister, father, son, mother, and uncle, and so on. They also interact with others in groups such as religious meetings, recreational clubs, and at a place of work. Social interaction is a result of prospectively taking others into account and basing on one's action upon this perception. I repeat this is a very important statement. Social interaction is a result of perceptively taking others into account and basing one's own actions upon this perception. This process is such a basic part of our life that we cannot even think it in other terms. Because of everything, our response would be in terms of good concepts, group concepts. For example, if you were asked, "Who are you?" your answer would be, "I'm a sociology student," or "I'm the youngest of three sisters in a professional family." Thus, you conceive yourself and your relationship to others in the group terms. Now we understand individual and the group. Individuals in social groups are conscious of being together to a group and have common membership. In informally organized groups, the members are identified by such means as membership cards and enjoy certain privileges that, that go with membership. Even in groups that have no formal organization membership, like sense of belonging, is considered to be most important aspect of the groups to exist. In small and informal groups, membership is recognized through forms of address and group assigning particular activities to the members. Thus, it is not difficult to make a distinction between member and non-member of any social group. All social groups have particular way in giving membership to people through simple process or as a signing up membership form or giving an identity card. Members of a group interact in a way that is different from the way they interact with non-members. Common membership subjects them to share common beliefs and ideas associated with its established norms. Thus, sharing a common set of cultural values and norms, members continue to participate in its function and objectives. This sharing of membership in a group and sharing common experiences highly influence the members to develop a strong sense of group unity that is fundamental for the effectiveness of the group in a collective activities of the group. This sense of group unity gives rise to group consciousness that binds members together and particularly against those outsiders who are seen as a threat to the group. A person's feeling and behavior is affected by group membership. For example, it is revealed by sociological studies of military groups that during the Korean War, a few American soldiers who were taken as prisoners of war later agreed to cooperate with the enemy and propagated against the American cause. The sense of belonging is not felt in the same way in larger groups because of the heterogeneity of the members. So the value of this membership and consciousness of any kind is lessened. Also, the members of one group belong to various other groups so that no group can make claim a total allegiance from the individual. This is one way by which the group to lose its power over the members. Although membership is limited, there is some degree of consciousness of kind, and it makes although the membership is limited, there is some degree of consciousness of kind, and it makes the individual participate with others belong to that group dynamics. Every social group has its own norms, expected pattern of behavior, and definition of roles among the members of the group. Without this, there can't be a group. Thus, a group is not only a system of interaction, but also individuals share the membership while interacting with others in this way. Now we'll understand integration and functions of groups. We have already noticed that social groups range from the smallest to the largest and continue over a period of time on the basis of frequency, the variety and the emotional quality of interaction among members. When a family, a boys' gang, a college fraternity, or a religious group is loosely unified, it is because the members are related to one another through several common interests. They have frequent social contacts with one another, and the emotional quality of this interaction expresses a high degree of morale, of loyalty, and enthusiasm. In other words, they share common values and norms which are deeply rooted within the groups. The process of unifying the social groups have both normative and functional aspects. Normative aspects cover all the standard behavior expectation These normative aspects of group interaction are more or less a standardized response. In meeting the functional aspect, that is fulfilling the various forms of the groups, such as introducing new members into the group and transmitting them to its tradition and ideals, some means of standardizing the behavior of the members, especially with reference to the central interest or the common objectives of the group. Normative interaction Normative integration is more effectively developed in relatively small and homogeneous social group. The problem of integrating its members into the normative functional unit is a persistent of the social group. This is more of a problem in large groups for it provides certain conditions for recruiting, socializing, and rewarding its members. But even the smallest of the groups can fail to survive and although together and altogether disappear if its members find no reason to interact with one another. This concern for group survival is evident. For example, when a primary school fails to admit enough number of children, there is a kind of concern about true persistence of the group. So also, when a military group fails to recruit enough number of soldiers, such as concern is again evident. Yet, there are situations in life in which the liquidation of social groups is accepted as natural and inevitable. The student groups that break up after graduation, when its members scatter and lose contact with each other, it's neither intended nor planned that a group should continue to exist. People no more belong to some groups and the group is lost. It is replaceable by others. Members who are capable of internalizing the norms and values of the group can easily be integrated into normative system. They believe its in objectives and purposes and must be loyal to the group they belong to. Normative interaction, normative integration is more effectively developed when individual can be motivated to achieve something for him and for the groups. Values and the group in turn can reward such activity. Thus, it helps personality development and absorbing the person into the group is also important in achieving social integration in the group. Thus, the normative integration of the group is acceptance of a common set of value or norms by its members and their degree of involvement in the group. Let's see functions of the group. The functions of the group we can understand what it is basically helps how we know how it formed and what is the purpose of group and how what are the characteristics of group and what is the, how a group is important. Now we'll see the functions of group. People form social group for a variety of reasons. The most important reason is that individuals are dependent on one another for their survival. This dependence is called functional interdependence. Man must achieve certain things if human beings should continue to exist. These things cannot be done by individual alone. He must cooperate with his fellow men and know and to make cooperation easier, he must work out a scheme for a division of labor. For example, the work group of a factory fulfills two functions. The production and distribution of goods and services are carried out for wages and profits, which are valued in the society. People are motivated to action. People are motivated to this action by these and various other functions. The workers depend on the wages, and the owner of the factory depend on the production and the profits they get from it. If the social group is to be maintained, social behavior and personality of individuals are shared by the group to which they belong. Groups perform single and specific functions. These functions may be varied and general. The purposes or goals can be also be provided. Serving the group's own interest or public. Serving the personal interest of group members. Eventually, the lifespan of a group varies from hours or days to many years or generations. People form groups for a purpose and it cannot be achieved through individual effort. If the people of a community are confronted by a special problem, they may form a pressure group to deal politically with the issue. The pressure group serves private and special purposes. Once the issues has been settled to the satisfaction of those interested in it, the group breaks up. As well as if you compare to this, as well as if you compare this to a family which has a long tradition of many generations, has many varied functions to perform. Family may be a high formal organization based upon the specific roles of father, mother, brother, grandparents, so on. And as a group, family outlives the lifespan of its individual members. We shall see later that particular groups may vary in nature from one society to another and from one period of time to the next. For example, modern American families are basically associative in nature, whereas in India there are larger kinship groups in traditional societies which are institutional. As groups perform varied functions, the purpose may be collecting funds for charity or supplying artillery for the army or even having a good leisure time. Groups share common goals in the sense that the members tend to be generally similar to one another in the respect of the purpose of the group. If the goals of the groups are religious, the members tend to share opinion on religion. If the goals are leisure activities, the members belong to more or less same age, class, caste and leisure interest. More often, the members interact with one another in a group are like to be more influenced by its norms and values and they become more similar to one another. Throughout life, individual activities are carried on in the company of others, whether our purpose is to work, raise a family, to learn, to worship, or even to relax. To summarize, till now we understood the social group, how it is introduced, what are the definitions of different definitions of social group, what are the characteristics of social group, and what is the importance of social groups. And we also had two questions to test your knowledge, and we understood the group and interactions, individual and the group, integration and function of the groups, functions of the functions of the group. And next lesson we learn about the types of group and typology of group. Thank you so much.